Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, I don't have to see myself anywhere, apparently. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Adjustment for the City of Bettendorf for December 14th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Spranger? Tansey?
Here.
Tombergs? Yes. Vermillion?
Here. Okay, so we have a quorum, so we can move forward. This is the Board of Adjustment. We are a 5-member board. We're appointed by the mayor, and there are certain items that the code provides that has to be ruled on by the Board of Adjustment. Tonight, we have a variance, which is one of those items. So with that, the next item on the agenda is the minutes of the last meeting of November 9th. You all had those in your packet. I wasn't at the meeting, so might want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it's approved. The next item is the board to hold a public hearing on case number 23-080. It's 1928 Tanglefoot Lane. It's an R2. It's a request for a variance to reduce the required front yard setback from 25 to 17 to allow construction of a deck submitted by Mary Bunce. Is that right? I'm sorry.
Correct.
Okay. Staff, please.
Mr. Chairman, this is case 2380, 1928 Tanglefoot Lane. The petitioner is asking for a reduction in the setback, and it was listed initially as 25 feet to 17 feet. The actual amount of distance the structure is from the front lot line on Tanglefoot Lane is actually 21 feet, so it's 21 feet to 13 feet. And it's to accommodate an 8 by 7 foot deck that will face Tanglefoot Lane. The applicant wants it for handicapped accessibility, for maneuverability, to come out and have the door open and then have a place to stand while being able to leave the front door and then go to the garage. And this right here, the site is right here. Urban low intensity is your land use. The surrounding land uses are such in the same way, and it meets Goal D. What we're attempting to do with this land use designation is provide housing options and reinvest in existing neighborhoods. This is an R2 neighborhood surrounding, and what you have are 25-foot setbacks for front yards throughout the entirety of these neighborhoods. However, on this plat, there was a 30-foot setback. This is the plat section, showing lot 16 with 30 feet setbacks. It is lot 16 in Candlelight Park First Edition. It had 50 feet of right-of-way platted here, which has not changed. There has not been any other acquisition of ground from this lot in that time. The house was built 21 feet away from the property line, so somewhere here toward the property line. And the 50-foot right-of-way is part of what is existing, with the Greenbrier addition below also being 50 feet, and that distance has been maintained today. In the past, sometimes when we've seen this arrangement where you do have this separation of only 21 feet, what you typically see is that there was right-of-way acquired to force that distance to be smaller between where the house is situated in the new property line. That is not the case in this instance. Staff has not made any recommendations of this nature for a setback to be reduced within 13 feet of the front yard setback in the last 20 years in our review of our annual reports. But the board has granted relief in the past for handicapped accessible ramps to be placed in, I shouldn't say in the right-of-way, but up to the right-of-way line. So that is something that is not new for this body. There were 12 cases that were reviewed by staff since 2004. 7 were ruled against variances for decks to encroach into the front yard setback. 5 were ruled in favor. The greatest amount of relief provided was a deck that came within 16 feet of the property line in 2 cases at 3020 Hyperion Road and then also 1709 Mississippi Boulevard. The case that got rejected came within 14 feet of the front yard setback, and that was at 2801 Villa Court, and that was in 2004. Staff would want to make sure in cases of equity that we look at the situation of the deck here being put in the same category if the board so decides that there is a hardship to place this here, that be classified as a simply equal to a handicapped accessible ramp to establish that in the future that such a design potentially could be placed in a front yard setback, that this is in fact is not just serving as a deck, it is serving as a means of access to the single family dwelling. We would also add that if the body so decides that the requirement be put in place that this structure be removed at such time that the resident no longer needs to use the handicapped accessible structure. And then of course, any other laws that apply, and this would mainly be in the building of the ramp through our building department. But that is staff's recommendation if this board so decides to recommend approval of the petitioner's request. I would ask, are there any questions?
Any questions for Greg?
Is this at various places that you've called it a ramp, but it looks like it's 2 steps up from the driveway and it's really a walkway?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's I talked with the petitioners about this, and it's just a matter of, you know, what is going to accommodate their needs essentially. I don't know that there is per se a design, you know, that is featured by ADA or federal government or state or local law that says, okay, the ramp shall be like, you know, this, and I have this incline and such and such. But the purpose here is that it does serve the dwelling unit, and that it is for someone who is in some way handicapped that cannot have the maneuverability necessary. I don't think that we've ever stated that it has to have a certain appearance in granting relief. So what we want though is that it be designated as such that this purpose for this structure is for handicapped accessibility. It is not for an esoteric or I just want to have a deck, because there are other places throughout the city, as I've talked with the petitioners, where decks have been built into setback areas without permits. And it was just, there is no hardship in that regard just because I want to build something into a setback. This here, there is a reason. It's about getting in and out of the house.
So that's definitely not a ramp. It is a extension of the existing cement.
Correct.
And
But
does.
it would be wood.
It's
We should probably have them
it's
on
not
there.
wood, it's
Trex.
Okay, but it's not concrete.
no,
I don't
correct.
think.
The one that we have now is concrete and it's busted. It fell through.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
we'll probably have to redo that, but okay. Any other questions for Greg?
Go ahead.
Does staff have another recommendation if the deck is not approved because of the, I'm just asking.
Well, I gave the parameters of what has been approved in the past and what hasn't. And it would be for a different size, perhaps coming within 16 feet of the front yard setback. Right now, the relief that being asked for would be reducing it to 13 feet. But there have been 2 cases in the past where that relief was granted to bring that within 16 feet, and that would reduce the width by 3 feet, making it 5 feet by 7 feet.
So if I could add to that, Mr. Chairman, city's past practice when we're talking about, I'm going to use the word true or bona fide accessibility ramps, is to permit them temporarily with the least amount of incursion into the required front yard setback or wherever they may be located in whatever case as possible. So we're having trouble determining here is it an accessibility ramp or a deck? Those are 2 different things, and our analysis would be different. If it were an accessibility ramp, then we would want it to be built, and we would recommend for it to be built with the least amount of incursion, but still meeting all codes regarding accessibility for entry into the home. And that's usually about a 36-foot land, or 36-inch, 3x3 landing area in front of a main doorway is typically what you need. I'm not a building code guy per se, but roughly 36 inches by 36 inches around the entry to a door. Of course, you're gonna have width of the wood and any vertical members, so it might be a little more than that once you actually build it. But that would be our recommendation. If it were truly an accessibility issue, we would be in favor of it, and then we would say, build it to the minimum incursion while still meeting all code.
And the petitioners, that's been discussed with the petitioners, and have you guys considered that?
We have not, that's the first time I've heard of that.
Okay, so the conversation could continue.
Right, what, the whole purpose to get it to come up off the sidewalk is so I don't have to turn and then try and go up the steps.
Existing walkway, you want to do the existing?
Yeah, I wanna go to I am handicapped, I work 40 hours a week. So if I go up the step this way, it's easier for me than to turn and try and go up the steps. What we have right now.
Because I did drive by your house and I took pictures and everything, so I know that the front faces Tanglefoot.
Tanglefoot, correct.
Yeah, Tanglefoot, and so you would be coming in kind of off the side then.
You need this stuff, yeah?
I did give the other gentleman that was working with us all the pictures, and he said, oh, I'll put them on the wall, I'll put them on the.
I mean, they
Why
may be
don't
on
you
there,
give them
Greg.
to-
You can put them right on
Yeah.
the,
We have
Yes.
these.
you can put them on
This
the
is what I give
overhead.
him.
Why don't you give,
Ma'am,
So we would come up this sidewalk, see, right now I have to turn and.
why don't we give those
ma'am,
to
you can put them on the
No.
overhead.
Yeah.
overhead,
Here,
then we
here you
can.
go, ma'am.
Ready?
Okay.
I don't know.
Did it work?
Well, we're gonna see in a second.
He
There's a
he plugged the
means-
button in.
I don't, we got everything connected that can be.
Well, in the meantime, we can just pass that, right? I mean, for us to look in case we, thank you, I'm sorry to make you walk.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, thank you. And so, oopsie, and so you're saying you want to come in this way?
Right here, come up off of this way and go onto the deck. Right now I have to walk up this way. We did have handrails onto it. My brother put handrails, that's what all that's from. But then right here is you see where the hole
Yep,
is at.
it's working now,
Okay.
yeah.
Use it now.
That
Yeah,
way we
here we
can get a better record of it for the public.
Yeah.
Mark, is there something about the 16 feet? Because that's as small as we've ever gone. Is the city would the city feel that that was kind of, there's a precedent for that, and so if we could keep to 16, we'd be happier?
Or there's been
See,
some
that's
prior
just
cases.
case history that we have
Okay.
in the past.
Okay.
Each case is unique, so I don't think that you need to go
Right.
and say every precedent is what you will now do going
Okay.
forward. I think you need to analyze the cases in front of you. There's a lot of unique things with this house. The house, no fault of the petitioners, was apparently built way too into the front yard, not their fault. So I think that is kind of a hardship, right? And now
is.
they're having an accessibility issue, which any of us could have in our life, and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And we're going, yeah, we want you to have accessibility, but we don't want to give away the farm as the city and say, build in the front yard whatever you want, because you could imagine what would happen. So I just think it's a kind of a reasonableness question at this point. What's reasonable? And I think building it to code with that roughly 3 foot by 3 foot minimum landing area is what is making sense to me. You are the board, so you will make that decision.
That's what we basically have right now is that little 3 foot by 3 foot cement pad on there. But for me to get in the house, I literally have to back up almost all the way off to the end of it to open the door to get into it.
No platform.
Because there's no platform to stand on.
Yeah, and it would.
Because
come
it's
as-
right at the edge of the house, the doorway. That cement platform is.
And is an option to extend the cement instead of building a deck? I'm just wondering,
The price cost, I don't know what the difference is, but I do know cement is expensive.
I'm just trying to see what other options are there that could
Right.
stay within what's been approved in the
Right.
past. And because it sounds like you don't necessarily want to have a ramp per se.
Correct,
You would rather have just the.
2 steps.
Mr. Chairman, I'm almost wondering if this isn't another option is the deferral, and you kick this back, and I have my building department staff come up and
With an
meet with
idea.
these folks and see what the minimal build that they would approve would be, and see if that minimal build would also suit the petitioner's needs. Then you don't have to make a vote until we have more information. Does this have to be, I know weather's coming and this is uncomfortable for you, but that's another option, instead of trying to turn all of us into designers and builders, which
Right.
I'm not.
I'm not either.
Well, and they
Let's
may end
question-
up coming up with something even better.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I know this is not the typical handicap ramp, so to speak, but do we have size parameters for ones that have been approved in the past? If you're talking about a 3-foot landing, and I know you need some room then to maneuver, is it another 3 feet? So is it like 6 feet of depth there to get out, close, and it looks like it's designed at 8 feet of depth, right? Which
8 by 7,
It
7 by
seems-
8, yeah.
it seems bigger as designed than the purpose.
Well, we
that's
were doing
required.
that to get it to the sidewalk, so you could put your steps going
Land
up
on the
from
sidewalk.
On the sidewalk.
Oh, so in other words, you come in, go up and turn.
Exactly.
Because she's gonna get out of a vehicle
Going out
or
here.
something and walk up that sidewalk and wanna line up to the steps.
Correct.
So maybe that's not a bad idea to table it and see if they can get with the city to see what other design options are out there that
Okay.
would be easily approved.
And then design the minimal incursion possible
To satisfy her ability.
to
get in
satisfy
and
the
out.
disability and also functionality. And that lets us hold the line, I think, for others when they come and say, I want to build something in the front yard. And
Exactly.
Right.
the cases are all different, I understand. There's just a very unique hardship here, both with the placement of the house and then the disability
I
factor.
didn't
So
even realize that the house was built farther out than he told me. That
Okay, well,
was,
so the or the thought anyhow would be, if we could defer this till the next meeting, the staff could work on maybe some other possible solutions to the
Yeah.
problem that might be easier to deal with.
yeah, and then honestly, past practice has been when it's a disability access feature, we don't typically take them to this board. We approve them at the minimal incursion possible and just approve them at a staff level. And if you want this to come back to you, we will bring it back to you because you've seen it. Or if you trust us to go forward and work this out, we'll do that too.
Well, it seems to me if you can work it out within the parameters that you normally work things out in, then we wouldn't see it anyway, that's fine.
Okay.
But if it comes back that it's still gonna be outside of your normal parameters in order to satisfy your needs, then I think it has to come back to us.
Yes, sir.
So let's, then we could defer this to a future meeting, give staff an opportunity to deal with it, and if it's successfully dealt with, it doesn't have to come back, we'll just be done with it.
Yeah, if that minimal incursion is achieved and it's still functional for the petitioner, that's what we would approve out of routine
Right.
without the board's approval. If it needs to be something more than that, then it will come to this board.
Okay, so that seems
Is that
reasonable
a
to me.
motion?
So, yeah.
Or do we need to vote, or is it
Yeah,
just?
we probably need to make a
Think you have
motion to that effect.
I make a motion that we defer this until the next month's meeting, pending a look at it by the building department, and if they approve it, then it wouldn't necessarily have to come back, but if there are questions that we could answer, then bring it back.
Do you want to also condition that, again, like we do with every ramp that is handicap accessible, that at such time the ramp is no longer needed by the person who uses it, that it be removed?
Yes.
Well, I don't
That's
know.
not
I
part of
think
our
that-
motion if we're deferring. We
I
can't
think
put that
that's
in the
something
motion.
that,
Yeah.
would be part of your
could be part of it.
determination.
Just
from
pointing
a
out you
staff point of
condition that, though, that's why I throw that out there. I'm
Yeah, I
not saying we
think if the
can't do it.
staff, Greg, I think
Oh, we're not talking
if
about
the
a
staff is making the determination, I'll condition that at my level.
Yeah, I
If it
just
comes
wanna make
back to
sure
this
we put-
board,
Yeah.
then the board can choose
Then
condition
we'll
F,
handle it, yeah.
so choose. But
So if
yeah,
either party
understood that.
isn't satisfied, so to speak, then they can come back.
I will
to
tell
us.
you, I do not spend a lot of time driving around town looking for handicap ramps that need to be removed. Don't spend much time doing that. I'm not interested in doing that.
Okay,
I'll
well,
second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, then the matter is deferred. Hopefully you can work it out with the staff. If that doesn't work, then you come back and see us. Or the staff comes back.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'll work.
thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a happy holiday.
You too.
Okay. I guess we stand adjourned, so everybody have a happy holiday.